So when you say corporates, when you're working in a corporate setting, that's your social well-being. Your colleagues, your peers, that's your social well-being. So therefore, like if something goes wrong in that avenue, then that means it's gonna impact your personal life. And we speak about burnout a lot in workplace, because burnout again happens only due to chronic work related stress. It doesn't happen just because you have a relationship issue. So then I think corporates, government sector, private sector, university, schools, all should actually consider of looking at well-being in that manner.
Welcome to the Learning Curve by Snap Ark Global. Today I have with me Rasni Bandara. Rasni is a mental health care professional who has experience working internationally and locally. She is an international consultant, a mental well-being consultant for the International Transport Federation. She's also a visiting lecturer at private and government universities. Rasni, it's great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much, Jishan, for having me. Thank you. Good to be here.
Thank you. Rasni, you are someone who's in the mental health space. You are a mental health care professional, a psychologist that has worked with numerous clients, I'm sure, over the years. How, if I can start, would you share with me your learning journey of how you arrived at this place of being a mental health care professional?
Oh boy, yeah. It's going to take some time. So I had my primary, secondary education at Visakha Vidyalaya, Jishan. And I think that is where probably the initial foundation, was put to this career. And I think it came in such a way that during I was schooling, I had to go through a lot of life circumstances, especially my father being ill, my mother and my father, and then losing my father. And over there, I think I recovered from all of that because of a few individuals, few teachers in my life, very significant change makers, and at the same time, I would say friends. Right. So life's second foundation was put through them. And I think none of them ever knew anything of psychology, counseling, but all of them had a very caring heart, I would say. Since I was small, knowing what a career is, that I always want to become a gynecologist, but I failed my A-levels in royal style, I would say. But because of that, I thought, okay, let me do something like biomedical science, and that will someday open the avenue for me to get into medicine. Yeah. So to do that, I went to Malaysia, and over there, psychology was a minor subject I had to take. And my lecturer said, Rasini, you seems pretty natural at this, so why don't you? And so that's how pretty much everything started. And as I was learning it, I found that not only it gave me an understanding of others, I think it gave me a massive understanding about myself. I think a lot of self-evaluation, all those things. I was able to make sense of a lot of things. Even I would say the grief that I was going through with related to my father's loss. I was able to make sense with a lot of things and how people behave the way they behave and why people do the things that they do. Right. So I think it's been quite a rewarding journey. I would say it was never an easy journey. Of course, it has its own ups and downs, I think, even in the future. But I think it's very rewarding for me. Yes.
Thank you, Rasni, for sharing. And I'm really sorry to hear about the kind of journey that you had to take, especially during the A-levels. It must have been quite hard. The conversation on mental health, though, I'm sure at the time going into psychology would have been quite challenging, especially because there wasn't a lot of room to have that kind of conversations on mental health back at the time. So if you could perhaps share your thoughts on mental health today in Sri Lanka and whether corporates should invest more in it. Is it important?
Right. So, I mean, touching on what you mentioned earlier, Jishan, of course, yes, I would say growing up, mental health or talking about mental health or any conversation on mental health was a massive taboo. And whenever people say psychology or something related to mental, then you quickly link it to Angodo Mulleriava Hospital. That's where you're going to end up.
Yeah.
And it's such a shame to actually speak about it also, and would always say that if you're going through something mentally, then that means, you lack personality.
Right.
You don't have enough, I would say, a character as an individual to deal with problems
Kind of
and
strength to
exactly,
go through.
of course. And I would also say, again, like the point that you mentioned, why whether it's important for corporates. Absolutely, yes. I'll tell you why. Not just for corporates, but generally, because if you look at WHO and the definition of health according to WHO is your physical well-being, your mental well-being, and your social well-being.
Okay.
So all these three things has to be in a beautiful sync and in harmony in order for an individual to be healthy. You can't say physical health, very important, and the rest of the two, you can just balance a bit. No, all three equally important. Because why? If your relationships are messed up, that's going to affect your physicality and your mentality.
Right.
So if you're physically unwell, you're unable to be your 100% in any relationships. At the same time, mentally, you're not in the right place. Yeah. And it also says it's not merely an absence of an illness. So not having an illness is not health.
Right.
So all these three elements of well-being is highly essential. So that is why I think from smaller days, people should be empowered in a way of looking after all these three factors. So when you say corporates, when you're working in a corporate setting, that's your social well-being. Right. Your colleagues, your peers, that's your social well-being. So therefore, like if something goes wrong in that avenue, then that means it's going to impact your personal life and, at the end of the day, all the other factors. And we speak about burnout a lot in workplace, because burnout, again, happens only due to chronic work-related stress. It doesn't happen just because you have a relationship issue. So then I think corporates, government sector, private sector, university, schools, all should actually consider of looking at well-being in that manner. Yes.
Thank you for sharing. Taking it sort of back to the corporate space, especially about the challenges that maybe female counterparts would have in the workplace. What do you see of the dynamic between kind of mental health challenges women face versus male face? Like, is there a stark difference, or is there something that can be done to address this?
We are brought up in a very passive manner. We are passive learners, we are passive listeners, we are passive communicators. But we were never taught to be assertive. I think that is something we should have. So whether you're a man or a woman, I think being assertive is highly essential.
Wow, that's a really good point there. I think to note, even in our everyday, actions that we take, how can we be more bold? How can we be more assertive? Practicing self-conscious,
Absolutely. I mean, I think when you bring in the element of emotional intelligence, it speaks about all of these things. How can you be sensitive also to someone, and how to be assertive also? How to be very respectful of someone's belief system and faith, and then still how to be very assertive and put your point across. I think this is something that we really, really need.
So I know, since I've known you for a while, I know you like to travel and you've had these experiences, going to different countries, taking part in different conferences. Are there learnings that you have experienced abroad by meeting people in different countries that you carry with you, and that's something that you always look fondly on?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I would say that something I've realized is that, the kind of audience that I get to meet in most case scenario are educators, Jashan. Right. And at the same time, some of them are like, 2-3 PhD holders. Wow. But I've always, realized, I think it establishes is one thing that my father used to always tell, that, the more you enrich yourself as a human being in terms of education or whatever, you become more humble as a person. So just like a paddy, when it enriches, it bends. So this is something I have seen with people.
Right.
And I have seen them because, here I am sometimes get stressed out trying to teach stress management. Because of course, I would say every audience is quite intimidating. And I go in front of every audience being nervous. I think that helps me to work better. I work on myself better.
Right.
So then I've seen in situations, witnessed situations, whereas they have stepped up and they wanted to comfort me and to say, you know what, you're doing a great job. Why are you nervous? We all love you. And so it's so good to hear this also. And I think they're very generous when it comes to compliments as well. So they really respect you as well. I think I've had one situation where back in Croatia, there was a doctor in psychology at the audience. Now, she intimidated me because here I am, I'm just still barely got through with my MSc, and then, I've yet to do my PhD, but there's a doctor. So I was always, turning to her and asking her to have some input. And whereas, she told me, Rasini, you just mentioned a few times like Dr. Anna, yes, yes, I know, but I can't do what you're doing. I won't be able to stand on my feet from morning to evening with the same energy and do what you're doing. So I would say that, that takes a lot for an individual to say. So I think that is something I carry with me. So no matter how bigger you get as an individual, not physically, but with a lot of other things, I think I have always thought that I'll maintain that humbleness. Always. Right. And that humbleness to even learn from the smallest individual, learn from kids, learn from teenagers. I think I do that because I think that's how we are also able to update ourselves as well. When you're with these youngsters, knowing BTS, whatever, all these things will come in handy, believe me, for all my work. I mean, whenever I feel like, I'm not finding the right kind of, I would say I'm not able to grab their pulse, I will throw some of these words and then there you go, connection done. Right. So I think that is helping me a lot. And I would say, I think a lot of it should go to my parents, of course. I think, there are life lessons as, taken me this far, and I hope that it'll do in the future as well. But then with these individuals, with people I meet, then I've realized that I think that is something, I think learning is something you should be open at any point, at any stage in your life. And at the same time, be very humble to learn as well as an individual.
Thank you so much. I know sometimes when people think of failure, they might look at that as a roadblock, but you have, done so much despite that initial hurdle that you experienced, even doing your MSc, for example, and building your own brand name, in the corporate world. So what really drove you, or where did you find that strength to get to where you are?
I would say, Jashan, whatever that you do, you have to be passionate about it. Right. For me, being around people was always something that was very passionate. I was very passionate about it. Right. I was always a people's person. Right. And I never wanted to restrict myself to a clinic. I always wanted to be out there with people. And I think it's a blessing that I've got that I, get to follow that passion pretty much every day. So I think I actually naturally get that petrol and the diesel to run the body. Okay. So when I wake up in the morning, it's not like you're taking a cow to slaughter. Right. I know for a fact that some people, they're like, oh my God, thank God it's a Friday. Oh no, it's Monday attitude. And I don't have it. So I can go on for days, even without a rest. And sometimes even my friends, my kids also just ask me, how do you keep going? Because sometimes I lose rest, I lose sleep and all that, but still I'm on my feet and I'm able to do that. It's because of the fact that I love what I do. I enjoy what I do. Yeah. And there's another factor to it. It's more it's something very connected to my heart, that my parents were not there to see my success in life. My father only saw my O-level results, my mother only my diploma graduation. But I'm doing all of this. I think that I'm earning merits for them. So whenever I go in front of any audience, I kind of visualize that they are with me right there. And at the same time, when somebody tells me, I'm breathing today because of you, and I'm living today because of you, and you've given me a purpose, you have given me that willpower. And I think it's more it's my way of earning merits for my parents. I think through every client of mine, through every audience, I think I keep them alive in me.
That's beautiful.
So that's also there. So I have that's a very small purpose, but then I would say that purpose keeps me going. So yeah.
That's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. This is a question I kind of bring to different guests about the kind of mentors that you have experienced in your life. Someone, or you could be a family member that has really taught you something that you still carry with you. And if you'd like to share that with our audience.
I would say number one would be my mother and father. And I think I always tell this, especially when I go to schools, that I'm here today because I had parents who not only celebrated my success, but also celebrated my failures. I remember getting 25 marks for mathematics and crying so much at home. My father took me out for dinner saying, today we'll celebrate this.
Wow.
Right? That's this moment. And I still remember that. I asked him, why are you not scolding me? And he said, what's the point? Because, if I scold you, you will not study because you want to. You'll study because I want you to do it. And I should never do something like that. So even I think my mother, who always understood the pulse of kids, and she was like, do what you love to do. And no restrictions applied. I think the whole mindset of free thinking, the whole mindset of respecting someone's personal space came from them, Jashan.
Wow.
And I think then next, I would say in my life, the mentors, if I say, I would say my husband, my partner who came to my life, I would say, I'm again doing everything that I love doing. It's also because of how healthy he is as an individual.
Right.
That he has a very healthy mindset, that he respects the fact that I have a dream and it's okay for me to have a dream. And he has a dream also. And his dream and my dream will not, collide at some point. Right. So not interfering each other's soul is something that I think with us. And then I would say my children, I'm taking a flight tomorrow and, they are going to be without parents for about a good 10 days because my husband is in another country at this moment. And then they are the ones who empower me. I would say, they see the fact that my dream is not their dream. So they like it, that, I have not made their life a project for me. So that is again, and I would also mention another very special individual, that's Auntie Anoma Pereira. She is the reason why I'm doing everything that I'm doing right now. So she gave me that initial foundation. Right. At the same time, I would say that support system, constant blessings, and even again, I would say that humbleness she always maintains. And I always go to her because whenever I feel like, I am struggling somewhere, and the blessings and the love and the advices that's coming from her, right, really, I would say that has taken me a long way. And I'll take one more minute and explain one other individual. So during the time that I was going through the most darkest period in my life, Manil Munasinghe Miss, my chemistry teacher, and she is someone, like I said, who never knew anything of psychology. Plus, the day I went to that chemistry class, I realized that I'm not going to get through with chemistry. Right. With or without life circumstances, this is not me.
Subject, yeah.
And I always tell her, Miss, I have not learned anything from you. But if I'm standing today, if I'm living and breathing, and you're one of the biggest reasons. So I always think of her with all love. And still, her way towards me has not changed. So whenever I'm, I achieve some sort of success in life, I always reach out to these people.
Yeah.
And then, of course, my friends in my life who've been such a support system. And also, I would mention one other name. I would say my beautician, my stylist, my makeup artist. Right. Plus, she's a therapist.
Wow.
And Anna Domingo, and she has transformed me as an individual. I think a lot of love and respect should go to her as well. I think still I would consider she as one of the best psychologists I've met in my life. Wow. And I think, so all these people, my in-laws, I think everybody, I think all these people have had so much to play in my life. And I consider all of them as mentors in my life.
It's a really beautiful picture of like just the support that you have that has brought you so far. Thank you for sharing that. I'd like to also maybe bring it back a little to the mental health discussion that we were having early on. For those watching at home or for those working in corporates, what's something that they can do practically to be more intentional about looking after their physical, mental, and social health? Yeah.
I would say it's not a crime to look after yourself.
Yeah.
So don't feel guilty about it. I know that a lot of people are looking after so many others, Jishan,
Yeah.
that you have a lot of responsibilities. We have a lot of responsibilities, so many roles to play. We are role overloaded, actually. But the thing is, amidst of all of that, don't ignore yourself. Don't forget yourself. Don't stop living. I would say work on yourself. Give yourself some me time. Take 15 to 20 minutes. Go do a workout. All of these things are self-care. Eat right. And at the same time, learn about things. Expand your knowledge about things. I think travel whenever possible. Do things that brings a smile onto your face. I think in life, we will constantly be faced with stress. And that's absolutely okay because stress keeps us going as well. But at the same time, rather than avoiding it, it's about managing it. It's about the right way of managing it. And right way of managing will have all of these things. Be emotionally very genuine. Be emotionally very genuine to the people around you. Very authentic. I think that will really help you. Be very vocal about your struggles. Have a transparency. I think even with your people in your life, I would say especially parents, don't try to be superheroes. It's okay that your kids get to know that sometimes you also fall apart. And that's okay. So they will also learn that someday, even if I fall apart, it's okay. And at the same time, I think if you're struggling, be open to your partner, your life partner, your friends. And if you seek help only, you will find help, find support. So I think it's always, have conversations as much as possible. Leave aside communication. Learn to have conversations. Time to time, take a time away from devices also. Because at the end of the day, like I said, we are becoming a very high-tech and a less touch society. We need a lot of touch. And that touch is human touch. And in the future, the world is changing. So the world is no longer interested in people who has an honors degree or I would say this many years of experience, but they will see that whether are you emotionally intelligent as an individual, are you a resilient person, do you have the right kind of character to face stress, are you a team player? So the world is changing like this. So you get adjusted to that world, you accommodate to that world, you be adaptable to that world. I think, that's what I just want to share, Jashan.
Thank you so much, Rasini. I'm really glad you brought the point of view in managing your stress, and especially after the economic downturn. I think a lot of people started neglecting that side of just managing their own emotional well-being. So I'm really glad. Great tips here that we can always incorporate into our own lifestyles. Just to leave things off and to wrap the conversation, if there's one thing that you can share with those watching, what would that be? To put you on the spot.
I would always say that looking after yourself, your mental well-being, your physical well-being, your relationships is actually something you should not be feeling guilty about. It's not a way of being selfish. I think it's if we need something in life, that's self-love and self-care. So if you are someone who takes care of yourself, then only you're able to take care of other people. So therefore, don't ignore that. Therefore, give yourself a little bit of time. I think, and at the same time, I would say another thing, Jashan, mostly because I deal with a lot of relationship issues and all these things nowadays. I always tell this to people, rather than trying to understand someone, accept people. I think acceptance is something we need. More than trying to exercise all our energy into something, because we never understand people. So that will give you a lot of peace in life. So those two especially. Yes.
And on that note, we'd like to bring the conversation to an end. Rasni, thank you so much for your time here today. It's been an absolute pleasure just hearing your insights from your world of practice, and also from the people and experiences that you've had. You can always follow Rasni Bandara on LinkedIn. I know she has quite a presence there. Feel free to join her there. Thank you to all those who join us, and thank you once again, Rasni.
Thank you, Jishan, and also the Learning Curve and team Snap Ark also for having. It's always a great working equation with you guys. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you. Thanks a lot.